Part 18. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 172. The old lady's words can be passed. Yan Song has not spoken yet. Cao Zijhan took a step ahead. Well, she is a beautiful woman from Jiadi Didi. Where does she, like the old lady, do those rough family affairs? The old lady is not satisfied with the palm of the house, so find another person, and see what kind of skin looks thin after the palm of the house. Pitiful to see, this must be someone else's wife like you. It must be happy confession of the sacrifice. Is the Cao family no one, and I still have to work to slap my palm. What he said was so angry that the old lady was coughing again. Cao Zijhan bowed his head and said to Yanj, the old lady coughs so badly, it won't be a lung attack. You are weak, so don't get infected. Can I help you go back to rest? Cao pointed at Cao Ziu with a trembling hand. In the past, the boy scolded him casually. She just scolded him as a dog, and he didn't dare to say anything. It's better now, but she dared to whisper in front of her if she had wings. If the old man hadn't come to him to warn Cao Ziu last night, she would have taught him now what it means to respect her mother. At this moment, Cao thought of Cao Ziu's stabbing in her eyes, and she felt resentment in her stomach. Her chaotic triangular eyes almost missed the poisonous knife when looking at Cao Ziu, but she could not say a word in the mouth. Cao Zijhan raised his chin and smiled at Cao, helping Yanj to stand up. Oh, the old lady is also considerate of you and let you leave. Yanji stood up, but didn't go out, but looked up, compared with Cao Zi, who was taller than her, said, the third brother is afraid that I don't know. My mother is very dissatisfied with me, saying that I was greedy to Cao's family. I'm going to take a break for Zijian. I'm waiting for my brother to come and give me a fare. I am so good, how can I do that kind of thing? The old lady is confused. My brother is not confused, and you are aggrieved. Leave this kind of thing, do nt mention it again. You and your elder brother are affectionate, it's going to be sad for my brother to come back. But this Cao family thing must be fair to you, or else everyone is just as confused as the old lady, then I am too wronged. When the two sang, the old lady Cao was so angry. On the one hand, those aunts and wives were watching the show one by one. They wished that the old lady would eat, and would not come forward to make a clearance for Madame Cao. When the host's brother came, he was entertained by Cao Zi. It took Cao Zijhan and his host's elder brother a day to smash the Cao family's account book in front of the Cao family. How can his own account book be seen by outsiders? Father Cao wanted to cover it up, but Cao Zijhan was very strong, and his words were aggrieved, and there was Fang's family overwhelming him. There was no room for Cao to protest. The Cao family's ledger quickly came out. Although the Cao family has a few shops to maintain their homes, the business in the past 2 years has been difficult to do, and the shop only loses money. The smoking expenses of the grandfather Cao and his wife at home accounted for the bulk of the entire household. The second son of the Cao family sleeps in Hualiu Alley to eat, drink, and gamble every day, and spends money on his account at home. The Cao family raised so many people, and the monthly money was a huge expense. If the accounts are straightforward, there is nothing unclear. Mr. Cao kept saying good things in front of his in-laws and praised his daughter-in-law, Yan Ji. The matter of resignation has never been revealed. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 173. Mr. Cao also wanted to hand over the things in charge of the house to Yanj, but this time the Yanj did not answer anyway. This kind of struggling and unpleasant thing is not the character of the words. Yanj is a long-time concubine at the Cao family. This Palm family is actually a symbol of rights, but Cao's rights are really not interesting. The host's elder brother, Fang family, apparently did not expect Cao's family to become such an empty shell. Before leaving, he left Yanj with a personal silver ticket and instructed Yanj to return to his home if anything happened. This left me depressed. The family relationship between the Fang family and the Cao family, aside from the baby dolls set down from childhood, no other Cao family is worthy of the upper family. The already declining Cao family and Dingxing Fang's family are not at home. Because of this, the Uncle Fang's family objected very much at first, but he couldn't bear the fact that his parents kept his promise and married the host into Cao's family. In the future, Yanj will have to reconcile with her. She must still rely on her mother's family to support her. Otherwise, she won't be asked to invite Uncle Fang's family to watch the good show of Cao's family. So when Uncle Fang's family left, the words of Red and White Eyes stopped and seemed to be aggrieved and pitiful. As soon as she left, she turned and went into her yard. Although Mr. Cao was very angry, he didn't dare to sing words, so he just yelled at MRSCAO in MRSCAO's house, and scolded MRSCAO for not being able to teach even his daughter-in-law. In this case, the old lady had just smoked, so she squinted and lied on the floor, and scolded the father of the Cao family. The old Cao family scolded a few words and even lay with MRSCAO and started smoking. The third aunt turned around to find Yanj, and she said sorry that the housekeeper was not her own will, and vowed that when Yanj wanted to take charge of the house, she would immediately hand over the account book in the hands of the words. The words are not acceptable. What's so good about this broken Cao's family? It's not as good as her sleep at this time. In the afternoon, she was teaching subtle literacy in the room. Although growing up with the host from an early age, subtle fragrance, female red and other activities are proficient, the only thing that will not be recognized, according to the subtle fragrance, I want to faint when I see the word. The host did not force her before, but Yanj held her to recognize the words of the afternoon. Wei Xiang guesses that the song is not in a good mood, so she is also working hard, trying to comfort her with her diligence. When Yan Ji bathed in the evening, when she heard a noise, Yan Ji turned her head and saw Cao Zia coming towards her. She wasn't surprised, she just sank into the bath barrel and buried her neck in the water, so she asked Cao Zijhen, "What about the dark fragrance?" Sleep. Cao Zijhen rolled up his sleeves and took a towel from the shelf. "I'll help you wash." Yanj moved in the bucket to avoid him. "Have you given her medicine or stunned? If you eat too much such things as sweat medicine, you will become a fool. My subtle fragrance and cleverness, I don't want her to become a future fool." No. Cao Zi grabbed Yanj's hair and pulled him to his side. He wrapped the hair of Yanj with a towel, then wiped his back with a towel. "To help sleep, use it. Won't be good with more, and she won't take her medicine tomorrow." This man helped her to clean her back very seriously, and she didn't talk about her songs. The key is that she didn't have the ability to resist. She simply enjoyed how Cao Zigzun bent down, biting Yan Ji's ear beads, teeth gnawing for a long time before he said, "Guess." The two words lingering in his mouth, his voice muffled as if to seduce/lead her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 174. It should be said that Cao Zijhen did seduce/lead her. A woman like Yanj hasn't hooked/led her into such a sleazy, cheap girl. If she is so easy to be picked up by a man, she will live this age in vain. Raising her chin slightly, she squinted at him. You're good at scrubbing. Cao Zi simply rested his head on Yanj's shoulders, tilted his head, and his lips touched Yanj's cheek as well. I used to be a bathman in the bathhouse, so I can only enjoy the blessing. Other women begged me to rub, and I wouldn't go and see. He had a sullen expression and a frivolous expression, but because of his handsome features, he did not have an insignificant attitude, but because of his military uniform, he had a kind of abstinence. And even though he was talking to Yanj in this way, he put his hands under his arms to his chest, and seemed to be burning with impossibility on Yanj's chest. Yanj reclined his head against his arm, and the hot steaming face in the barrel was stained with a touch of rouge, and the water vapor in her eyes was charming and delicate. "You yell at me, why do you do this to me? Yun alone guarding the vacant room, my brother is sorry for you." Cao Zijhen is the age of a young man with a strong temperament. Although he has a little patience, he is completely irrational by the hibiscus in the water. He picked up the man from the water and strode toward the inner room. Yanj put his hands around his neck. "If you and I have this kind of thing, you can pat your after a while and leave, and be your romantic lord, and look for your confidants, but if I am pregnant, or it will go out, I'm afraid I will be dipped in a pig cage by your father." Cao Zijhen's footsteps, he bowed his head and smiled gaily. With a little frown, you can see the white snow on her chest and the red mole that became more and more obvious at that moment. His throat rolled and his mouth was dry, but he felt that what he said must be silent because of dry mouth. He was silent and speeded up. Throwing the song on the bed, he bowed his head and kissed him, trying to moisturize the dryness between his lips with her wet and delicate lips. Yanj held his fingers around his hair, squinted his eyes, and smiled. "Man, really nothing good." Laughing euphemistically, but there is a kind of ecstasy and coquettishness. He heard this and kissed her fiercely. Like an annoyed beast, he wants to use force to open a path for himself. But the words of the song also played a role. Even after tossing and singing all over the body, Cao Zijhen never took the last step. When he couldn't stand it, he just held Yanji's hand to help him. Between men and women, the easiest way to get closer is to sleep in bed. You can't sleep 2 times, and sleep 2 countless times. Now, Yanj and Cao Zijhen are sleeping for half asleep, but the relationship between the two has made a breakthrough after this half sleep. Cao Zijhen holding Yanj in his arms was like finding a novel toy. Without any drowsiness, he kept exploring in Yanj. Yanj's sleepiness was vague, and he could not be pushed a few times. He simply left. There were only wall lamps left in the room, and the lights were dim, and Cao Zi couldn't sleep, so he leaned his hands on his cheeks and tilted his head to look at the sleeping woman in front of him. Looking at it, his blood flickered and he couldn't help it anymore, and he took her hand again. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 176. Sublime blushed and became more guilty. She said with a smile, "Grandma and the young butler were too busy." Also Yan Ji sighed. "I was so busy before, I missed a lot of rare things." "Don't worry, we will definitely get better and better in the future." Ayaka nodded and was about to speak, and suddenly there was a hustle and bustle in the box next door. These people were about to enter the box, and they were all shivering in the air. To the surprise of Yanj and Subaru, they heard the voice of Cao Ziqiang, the second grandfather of the Cao family. "Brother Ziqiang will not die in distress, and there will be blessings. If he will fly in the future, we must not forget our brothers." Yeah, Brother Ziqiang can't forget our buddies who share the same distress. "Come here, Brother Ziqiang, let's have a toast for your trouble." Tao Daoran, who Cao Ziqiang was favored by everyone, still said modestly, "You guys, if you think too much, I can live well, where is the blessing?" A group of people blew their wines 3 times, and I don't know who said something. "Ziqiang, I heard that you fell down on the well in the backyard of your uncle, and you finally succeeded with your family." This sentence finally poked everyone's attention. Everyone laughed and winked at each other. One by one immediately opened the conversation box, and one question after another bombarded Cao Ziqiang. Yeah, you were the first talented woman in the capital. When did you get started?" Your kid really did hide us from us, and made us still cry for your lonely vacancy. Ziqiang, you are too unethical. You are so bitter in concealing such things. Who are our brothers? We tell you every time we have something. You are so good. Don't laugh at you, tell me what your sister-in-law is like. Don't make fun of me, Cao Ziqiang sighed. I have nothing to do with me. Who lied to you? You just talk, we won't talk about it, hurry up, Molly confess. I really don't. Cao Ziqiang drank and smiled wretchedly, I'm not only good looking, but also good figure, if I slept with her, why wouldn't I tell you? You know even your stingy figure. You said you didn't sleep. Whoever believes, you touch your chest and ask if you can believe it. You are really Cao Ziqiang yelled, I want to sleep too, I want to sleep in my dreams, but where is that easy? The door of the box was pushed open at the next moment. Yan Yan came in with a chair and smiled at the four young people in the box. Without waiting for the crowd to respond, Yanj grabbed the chair and smashed Cao Ziqiang in the box, followed by Hongxiang, smashing the kettles and plates and bowls in his arms towards these people, shouting, "It's rude, you do an't care about it. Someone is rude. Is there a king in the broad day?" Although the two weak women had the upper hand at first, their fists were hard to beat. Besides, there are four young men in the box. So Yanj is not in love. After the chair smashed Cao Ziqiang a few times, he immediately backed up and threw the chair at the door. He sneered at the four people in the room, there is no face and skin, and it's better to insult your pigs and dogs. Pig and dog. Hey, what are you talking about? These people were all five poisonous guys, and where would they be ashamed of the few swear words? It was so hard to see the people they always thought about. Wherever it was so easy to leave, they smiled and wanted to intercept the words. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 177. Yan Ji, the sleepy sleeper, was refreshing. After all, being served can be considered a matter of physical and mental enjoyment. Wang Xiang stood by Yanj's bed and saw her wake up, watching her stop talking. The baby's eyes were red and it was obvious that she had cried, and I don't know how Cao Ziqiang told her. Yan Ji had already torn his face with MRSCAO, and of course she didn't plan to ask and she had a rare interest. After finishing her grooming, she went out with Ang Xiang to go shopping. But in this era, people in the streets are frightened, and people in high-end houses are rickshaws when they go out, and the high-end points are cars. Yanj called 2 rickshaws. On the more prosperous street, the song and dance hall is the most on both sides of the road. Yanj took the subtle fragrance to a more upscale restaurant, and found a box on the second floor by the window. While eating, he looked at the people who hurried downstairs. It's not long like this. Yanj has the memory of the host, knowing that in the future, the situation will be more turbulent. This era cannot be changed by words alone. She was just thinking about how to make Fang's family not stand in the wrong team later. After all, if she wants to leave, such a troubled woman is too difficult to survive, and she has to rely on Fang's family. And why is Fang's family also the host's maiden? For nothing else, just for the host, can't just watch Fang's family finally fall apart because of the wrong team. Grandma, I heard that Ye was discharged from hospital last night. So fast, Yan Ji said with a look of surprise, you have to go to half a life if you don't die in the well. Why did he leave the hospital? Hexiang said, isn't the third master coming back? The master probably wants the second grandfather to lead an errand with the third grandfather, so the second grandfather is discharged from the hospital. The second master Cao Ziqiang has had a serious livelihood. He fights with chickens and dogs all day long and spends a lot of time with friends and dog friends in Hualiu Alley. According to the temperament of Mr. Cao, it is possible for Cao Ziqiang to hang around with Cao Zi. After all, in this world, it is the big family with soldiers in their hands. However, could MRSCAO bear with her son into the army? And according to her attitude towards CAOZI, she would definitely feel that if CAO Zhejiang followed CAOZI would be silently killed in a few days to get revenge. Therefore, this matter will never happen. People like Master Er, you should go to the army to discuss them. Ang Xiang skipped and murmured, Grandma, you don't know, Master Er can be confused. I heard that he and his wife's aunts are all have a leg. She didn't say this before, but there was an unspeakable thing between her grandmother and grandfather. She felt that she needed to pay attention to her grandmother and her grandmother. The slightly guilty subtle fragrant didn't dare to look at Yan Ji's eyes, and just continued to say, isn't the fourth aunt too good for my grandfather some time ago, but she was left out in the cold. It was that she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with the second grandfather. Yes, it was the medicine that Desheng went to the pharmacy next to Erye. Alas, when this happened, Erye went out every day to find joy, but he was a bitter aunt, thinking that Erye really liked her, but from after she gave birth, Erye never went to her again. At the beginning, Yanj thought that the little girl was talking to her about gossip, and she slowly tasted it. She reached out and dragged two subtle pigtails, and said with a smile, you girl, you still know there are so many, why haven't you told me before? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 178. The cracking sound of the teacup frightened everyone. About everyone thinks that Yanj is not too exaggerated, but some onlookers think that such a beautiful beauty can endure on her face even if she is proud. Cao Zigzun laughed and said, sure enough, I have a lot of adults, so I won't blame for this cup of tea. These words really say that the dead are also alive. With Cao Zhejiang as a benchmark, even if the other three were unwilling, they could only kneel in front of Yanj to worship tea. Yan Ji threw a handful of tea on the faces of these guys. It's one thing to sing a song, but being sung by a woman who sings tea in front of the eyes can't get everyone to associate with them, so these three people are holding their fingers together to force themselves patience expression. After the incident, Cao Zhihan personally helped Yanj to stand up and walk out. In the box, in addition to Cao Zhiqiang, who was like an eggplant in frost, the other three were very jumpy. As soon as Cao Zhihan walked away, their respective crickets also ran in. They only knew that Cao Zhiju had people blocking their crickets at the beginning. He took a meal in another box. As she descended the stairs, she found that the song was slow, and Cao Zhihan asked her, what? They hit you? Yanj shook his head and whispered, I just got kicked. Otherwise, the chain will not be dropped at critical moments. It is bound to the geeky system, and a large part of her force is limited. Once her host is a weak woman, she will almost become a weak woman without a little power. I have not experienced the helplessness of such a weak woman before, but just now, Yan Ji really felt it. All her confidence and pride in herself were crushed at that moment. She was so weak. But she can't manage a few things. She didn't even have to wait for her hands to kick herself. This kind of experience, Yanj does not want to have a second time. Caozi heard the words and bent over and hugged the words. Grinting at Shang Yan's surprise, he grinned and smiled evilly, are you afraid? Yan Ji curled his neck and slowly lowered his head. Although he didn't respond, this attitude explained everything. Caozi laughed more and more brilliant. It was raining outside. Cao Zhihan didn't call a rickshaw. He handed Yanj an umbrella, which was held by Yanj. He carried Yanj on his back and walked forward. In this era, it has not been opened to such a degree, so on this road, pedestrians and people hiding from the rain on the side of the road are almost watching Cao Ziu and Yanj. Despise. Yanj rested his head on Caozio's shoulder and said softly, "Can I get a pistol? I want 2 pistols. Well, what can I say to you? As long as you can make me happy, I will lie down at night and my brother will be very willing." Yan Ji laughed, and she touched his hair indiscriminately. "You don't eat at all. Where, in front of me, I'm willing to eat as much as I can." Yan Ji had no intention of flirting with him. She said, "You'll have someone make me a wooden stake and put it in the yard." Cao Zijhan turned his head slightly, and met Yan Ji's eyes. The rain outside the umbrella is like a curtain, which separates the talk from everyone on both sides of the road. He met her gaze, and there was a moment in this world, all that was left was his illusion. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 179. You can have a gun, you can't play with a woman. Caoz's voice was unknowingly gentle. He looked at her gaze unknowingly. "Relax, there is me, those who dare bully you, I returned back 10 times 100 times, so that no one would dare to treat you with a slight contempt." Yan Ji sneered, "I don't know how many women I want to talk to like a man. Who are you? Do you think I can believe what you say? I'm your guest of honor." Cao Zixi smiled, "I am now fainted and fainted. I even said such things, but I still don't believe it. It's really sad." After a pause, he added, "In this case, I only say to my uncle, even if other women ask me, I will not say it." The words are silent. She experienced too many planes and knew a little about human nature. She believed that what Caozi would say was really sincere. But that's it. The rain was getting heavy, and the road ahead couldn't be seen. Yan Ji changed his umbrella and asked him, "How far is it? Or find a place to rest, wait for the rain to stop, or call a rickshaw." Caozi said, "It will be here soon, so there is no need to toss." The woman on his back had a heavy back for a long time, and his footwork gradually became less brisk and heavier. But I don't know why, but he got more and more vigorous, and even wanted to carry her all the way. Yangafu did not respond to Caozio's back. So each immersed in their own world, nothing more. Gradually the sound of heavy rain outside the umbrella. The chicken has been weird in the yin and yang, it's another kind of beauty to get wet in your clothes. You fell asleep on the wood today. A man who looks so dressed in this clothes doesn't sleep too much. Yanj thinks that the cub's obsession with uniforms is about to go into exorcism. She was speechless. Instead, Caozi asked her suddenly, "Don't you like Caozijian very much? Why are you thinking about divorce now?" The question is so informative. How does he know that the host likes Caozijian? After all, this man was kicked out at a very young age, and the host had never met him before entering Cao's house. Even because the Cao family did not mention Caozijian, the host did not know that Cao had a third master before. Caozi asked again, "Don't like him? Or can't he keep it?" "Well, you've been here for 2 years, why are you thinking about divorce now?" Caozi asked one by one without answering the words. After asking the questions in his stomach, Caozi simply scratched his legs. "What? Are you asleep? This man is so hard." Yanj groaned around his neck and said, "It hurts." The soft voice made people want to love her while listening. "Why, he hurts you." Yanji reached out his hand and pinched his ear. "I hurt because of you. Go back and let you need." Yanj was full of heart and did not respond. Caozijhan gave her another shot. "You haven't said why." Yan Song, too many uncles. Caozixi laughed. "However, fortunately, I did not continue to ask questions, probably because I was satisfied with the answer. This is really a swagger." Before the two arrived at Cao's house, the house was already in a friar state. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 180. Cao Ziqiang has been returning to Cao's family for a long time, and he talked about Cao Zi's wolf as a treacherous and sister-in-law and male thief with Cao Zing before the old man. After he finished speaking, he asked Father Cao to pay him to the hospital. He was bruised all over by Cao Zi and Yangajan, and it was not easy to get home. There was no money in the account, and Mr. Cao forced Cao Zi out of the hall with one kick. His son weighed a few pounds and a few pounds. However, no matter how the second son is, the third son can't shame his brother outside. Father Cao was full of sorrow. Of course he couldn't blame Cao Zigzun. He covered everything with Yanji. It was this daughter-in-law who acted as a demon outside, which made the Cao brothers discord. Mr. Cao was very angry. While he was waiting for Cao Zi and Yanj to go home, he even thought of countless ways to kill Yanj silently and without traces. After entering the Cao's house with Cao Zibao holding Cao Song, Cao Zijhan went directly to the Cao Yan's courtyard. After he placed the Cao Song, he went to the Cao again. Mr. Cao was brewing a tantrum, and the moment he saw Cao Zi who was fierce and evil entered the door, everything disappeared instantly. Cao Zi's body was too angry, and this guy always had a somber face, as if who owed him 8 million. Mr. Cao didn't have 8 million, so he could only accompany Xiao to greet him. Zi is back. With a cold face, Cao Zixi nodded in response. Before Cao Zijhan returned, Cao had already cried in front of Mr. Cao, and personally took Cao Ziqiang to the hospital. Therefore, after Cao Zi returned home, the family was already calm. But Cao Zi didn't mean to pass over this matter today. Briefly recounting today's events, Cao Zi said, "I am the Cao family, and Cao Ziqiang slanders the others like this. This is not the same as slandering the Cao family. When the old man is fine, he disciplines Cao Ziqiang more. Black spots don't look good on anyone's face. My sister-in-law was frightened today, and it's all muddled up to now. Father, you can let your family be attentive. Fang's family didn't like the rise of Cao's family. Fang's hands can move Cao's without moving. What's more, the situation in Beijing is changing. Our Cao family doesn't even have a person who knows the inside story. I have to rely on the Fang family for many things. You can't help me, don't hinder me, or don't blame me for turning my face." Father Cao dared to say a few words where he kept saying good. At the end, when Cao Zi was gone, he wiped the cold sweat on his face unknowingly. He felt that his little son must have killed countless people, otherwise he would have been so angry. Cao Zi didn't see anyone in the afternoon, and at night he climbed up to his own sister-in-law's bed. Cao Zi, full of alcohol, saw that Yanj was asleep, without any thoughtfulness at all, and held a close meal with Yanj. Until Yanj was sober, he laughed and put the 2 pistols on the bed with a smile. "For you, there are no bullets in it, you play first, I will take a shower to teach you. No bath water so late." Since this guy made people fill the well in the yard, the water in Yanj's yard has always been in short supply. Cao Zijhan didn't look back. "You haven't poured the bath water yet, I'll wash it in your bath bucket." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Weipang. Chapter 181. After taking a few steps, Cao Zigzun turned his head and looked at Yanj with his eyes. "Did you not put water in it?" Yan Song did not understand what he meant. When I saw Yanj's face confused, it was rare to be a bit stupid. She had already lifted the curtain and quickly walked to Yanj again. She squeezed her cheeks with her hands and kissed her lips. "I kissed you, even if you put water in it, I don't dislike it." You look so good, everything is fragrant. I am honored to use your bath water to bathe. Without waiting for the words to respond, he had already gone to the side. Yan Ji stared at the direction in which Cao Zijhen left, and she pursed her lips for a long while and said nothing. The chicken yelled, "He seems to be teasing you." Without waiting for the song to speak, its voice said indignantly, "It's so disgusting, this man said that he shouldn't dislike your pee. You let him taste the you pulled, and he can talk with a smile if he has the ability." Song. I always felt that the chicken was extremely excited when he said this. This bird/beast. Yan Ji stared at the direction in which Cao Zijhen left. It was already midnight, and the room was soaked with coolness, and Yanj wore only a lining, and a goosebump soon formed on his arm. She took a cold nap before reacting from the nun, finding a cloak and putting it on, and looked up to see Cao Zio's gun on the bed. Guns are no stranger to Yanj. Feeling these two pistols with rough workmanship, Yanj began to miss his slab again. Cao Zijhen took a cold shower and didn't even wear a coat, so he returned in a pair of pants. Seeing Yanj was still playing those two guns, thinking that Yanj was very new to guns, and suddenly he looked stern. "These two guns are exquisite, and they are not heavy. Someone robbed others the other day. There is such a thing in Beijing. There are not many people with guns, and you are also lucky. I just wanted to send these two guns to you and I was stopped by you." With a proud look, he obviously wanted to exaggerate. Yanj asked him, "Where's the bullet?" However, Cao Zijhen hugged Yanj and threw people on the bed, then pressed down, "You first find out the bullets on my body, and I will help you find the bullets." He didn't feel ashamed of it at all, and for a whole day he took Yanj's hand straight into the subject. The chicken was bored, and even yawned. "The 5 girls have spent nearly 10,000 years, and now you still let me see this, it's really boring. Are you intimidated by the mighty one, or just sleep? It's really boring. Words, you do what you do." The chick jumped instantly. It liked the man in uniform too much, and he didn't know how many times he slobbed while carrying Yanj. But it was so embarrassing that people couldn't eat it. The chicken is very jealous of Yan Ji, who doesn't know the treasure. Cao Zijhen has not forgotten what he said during the day, and helped Yanj rub the bruised part of his leg for a long time. He didn't expect that he could make Yanj's legs bruises with a moment's clap. The bruises were really dazzling on Bainan's legs, and he knew in the bottom of his heart. Although this woman looked hot and hot, her small body was fragile. Without a real sword and a gun, in fact, there is a lot less fun. The words are too lazy to move. All the way is led by Cao Zijhen. Although Cao Zijhen has been tossing, he is very proud. He is as shy as a big girl. This aspect is obviously lacking. It seems that he needs to adjust/teach in the future. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 182. A man in his 20s was a wolf like a tiger, and Yan Ji later fell asleep. When he woke up in the morning, Cao Zi hadn't left. The guy kept watching her with one arm on his cheek. As soon as he opened his eyes, he met his black eyes. If it weren't for her good psychological quality, she would have been scared to death by this guy. He pecked Pei Yanj's lips. "Go, I teach you to play with a gun." Yanj rubbed his hair. "Just leave the bullets, I will learn slowly by myself, you are busy in advance." Already getting out of bed and wearing clothes, Cao Zixun turned his head and sang and laughed, while his lips were raised. Tao Huiyan's eyes were bright, and the evil spirit of laughter was, "The matter of is a big thing, and even if my brother has a big thing, he can't reach." The chicken screamed, "No, I want to collect this man. I have to make a specimen and hang it in the closet. Damn, he put this out of a new height. Wood, can you stop touching him, this kind of superb character, I really don't want him to be polluted by you." Can you help me make him a specimen and bury it in a relatively remote place, and one day I can leave the space to enter the plane, I will put him in my closet. Words of song. I always feel that the chicks will never return on the path of metamorphosis. The well in the backyard was filled, leaving an empty space, and Caozi had planted a cloth target on the ground. After teaching Yanj how to load bullets, he circled the Yanj behind him, and seemed to be serious about how he aimed the target. The hot breath in the mouth was all about the neck of the Yanj. Good guy, no wonder the shouts are always chanting to teach the song, it turns out that I want to eat tofu. Surrounded by his breath, it is too itchy and crispy. Although this disguised ambiguous is also a male and female interest, Yanji is not too cold about it. She pushed Caozijhen, is your marksmanship accurate? This was too much to question him. Caozixi laughed, took the gun from the singer, raised his hand and shot at the target, the bullet hit the third ring, very good marksmanship. Yanji looked up at Caozi and smiled, that's a good shot. That's natural, he hasn't met his opponent so far. Yanji has taken the gun in his hand and loaded it. Although holding Caoziu, he can raise his hand, but the gun is pointing in the direction of the target. Where can I hit it? Caozijhen didn't expect Yanj to really learn anything about marksmanship. She wanted to play, he just played with her, so even if she knew she couldn't shoot, he didn't say anything, but reached out and put a ray on her cheek, broken hair pinched behind the ears. When the gunshot sounded, he narrowed his eyes subconsciously, then raised his head sharply, staring at the target. Yan Song's bullet hits the heart. He wanted to ask you how to do it, but immediately thought, where would she play a gun for a deep lady, this shot must have been a blind cat hit by a dead mouse and accidentally hit. Is the wrist painful? I'll rub it for you. Although the recoil of this gun is not great, it is already very difficult for one of her women. Caozixi lowered his head and rubbed Yanj's wrist. Yanj avoided him and pulled out another pistol from his waist. He reloaded the bullets and loaded them slightly, leaning on one side, and fired 2 bullets at the same time. Through the gun hole. Caozijhen couldn't calm down, he walked quickly to the target, after confirming again, turned his head, staring at Yanj's eyes quite complicated.